Greetings, friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to today's episode where we dive into the concept of DARVO. That is DARVO, an acronym for deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. DARVO is a manipulation strategy often used particularly in cases of abuse or misconduct. It's a way to deflect responsibility and turn the tables on the accuser. In this episode, we'll unpack what DARVO means, how it works, and why it's important to recognize the behaviors. I'm going to be referencing several articles on DARVO, and all of those resources and references will be in the episode notes. HR to HR, from hell-raising to human respect. The podcast is a little bit of career therapy, a little bit of chaos control, and a lot of workplace wisdom. Basically, all the things that ain't in the employee handbook. You're not going to want to miss it. Hello, everyone. I am so glad that you are here. I am thankful that you are taking time out of your day to join me. I am Dr. Ebony L. Baylor, creator, host, and curator of HR to HR podcast. Around here, we are building a community of thrivers. We're doing more than just surviving. We are leveling up and we're moving forward with purpose. So I am so glad once again that you are here with me on today. I feel like it's been a minute since I flew solo. I've been blessed to have several guests. Want you to go and take some time to check out some of the other episodes. If you are new to HR to HR, if you have been on this journey with me, thank you for coming back. So let's dive in. Please make sure that you are liking, following, subscribing, and sharing so that we can continue to grow a community that thrives in the workplace, because we need to do more than survive. If the introduction of this topic is resonating with you, or you know somebody that it's resonating with already before we've dived in, make sure you share this episode with them immediately, okay? So, again, as I shared in the opening today, we're talking about DARVO, DARVO. Now, it's a term coined by psychologist Jennifer Freed, Dr. Jennifer Freed, and it's described as a specific pattern that people use to dodge accountability, especially when they're confronted about the hurt, harm, or misconduct or abuse that they have contributed to. So DARVO stands for deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. And when you see it in action, it can feel like the ultimate gaslighting maneuver, because it doesn't just reject what happened. It simply tries to alter the reality and augment, minimize the reality and the experiences people have encountered. And so let me just say this. As I was working on this topic and looking at content and reading and researching, I had to check myself, because I was like, I think I experienced this. And then I got mad. I literally got mad because I have been DARVO'd, and it has really, it's been an eye-opening experience, because when it's happening, you don't realize it because you're so busy trying to defend, and it's just crazy how this whole thing works. Let's dive into this a little bit more. Navigating DARVO in the workplace is really something interesting, because Jennifer Freed pointed out when she brought this up in the late 90s, it was really centered around sexual assault and domestic violence and domestic abuse. But somehow, some way, this particular behavior has woven its way into the fabric of workplace environments. And it's really dangerous and damaging, and it does a number of things. And so it's especially important for anyone navigating workplace relationships to understand and recognize how this shows up. And one of the things to keep in mind is that DARVO shows up in a lot of environments where accountability is weak and power is protected. Let's put a pin on that for a second. Where accountability is weak and where power is protected. What's interesting about this is that toxic workplaces, toxic environments typically have the ability to change conditions, but they also have the power. So those type of behaviors are protected. And there's a lack or a desire for accountability. So accountability is weak. What happens in the instance when DARVO is in full force And again, power's protected, ability is weak. This will quickly erode trust for the people that are experiencing it. It damages confidence. And it makes people second guess their own experiences. Like you're literally sitting there like, did that just happen? Did I experience that the way that that you experienced it? Now, if you good and grown and you've been through some things, you know your experience is your experience. But sometimes there are people that are very masterful and very intentional of deflecting and denying and will make you question yourself. Go with your gut. If you experience something, it is what you experienced. Let's break down a little bit more about DARVO. Let's break down the 3 stages. So again, DARVO, deny, attack, reverse, victim, offender. So let's start with stage 1, deny. You bring up what happened, something that was harmful or disrespectful or inappropriate, and you bring this up to an individual, and then this response you get is, that's not what happened. You're exaggerating. Oh, I didn't say that. Now, what is happening in that moment is the goal, flat out, is to erase the event, erase the impact, escape or erase responsibility or accountability for what has happened or what they have done. Deny. It didn't happen like that. I ain't say that. At least if someone said, well, that's not what I meant, they are acknowledging that they said something, but maybe that's not what they meant. But for someone to flat out say, that's not what I said, that's not what happened, they are literally trying to minimize and erase your experience. Stage 2 is the attack. If denying doesn't shut down the conversation, the focus shifts to you, becomes your tone, your motives, your credibility, your character. And then it's like, why are you doing this? You're confused, or you're too sensitive. You're always making a big deal out of things. And this is where reality starts getting chipped away at. Because now person is accusing you of doing something. They're attacking you. And again, this is how reality starts to get chipped away, one comment at a time. With each comment, your credibility, your character, your motives. Why are you doing this? You're confused. It starts to be like that little chisel that just chipping away at the reality that you experienced. The next part of this, the next stage, if you want to call it that, reverse victim and offender. This is where it gets interesting. Now, somehow, the person being confronted or that you're having this conversation with about how they have hurt you, offended you, disrespected you, what have you. Now there's a spin. Now they're the victim. And you, as the person who raised the concern, becomes the problem. Suddenly it's, you're attacking me. You're trying to ruin me. I feel attacked. You're creating this situation. And now, so in these type of examples, notice what has just happened. The original harm is no longer a topic. The spotlight has been spun and drug into their own pain and their own story and their emergency. So what has happened now? The original issue that you brought up is so far removed now because now they're the victim. And you're so busy trying to focus on addressing them and making sure that they're not feeling hurt or disrespected or violated, that we not even talking about what you came to the table with no more. It's not even an issue anymore because now they're the victim. And right there is where the flip occurs. And if you're sitting here thinking, wait, I came here to talk about what you did, and how did we end up talking about what I did? That's the moment that, oh no, it's DARVO. That's the moment right then and there. DARVO, it causes harm. And if you share that you've been harmed and impacted and the response is to deny, attack you, and then position themselves as the victim of your concern, pay attention. Pay attention because that pattern is going to tell you a lot. It tells you a lot. So why do people do this? Sometimes it's fear of consequences, ego, self-protection. Sometimes it's emotional immaturity, entitlement, or a deep need to stay in control. Because if you think about DARVO in and of itself, it's controlling the narrative. And so, folks that may do this may have a deep, deep need to control, and they have a deep need to control the narrative too. But whatever the motivation is, I want to be clear, it is not yours to fix. You don't have to sacrifice your mental well-being, your confidence, or your peace to help someone avoid accountability. That's not your job. It's not my friend. And if you're listening and realizing I might be doing some of this, I might be creating spin and denying to avoid accountability, check yourself. Choose integrity. Accountability sounds like listening without defensiveness, acknowledging impact even when the intent was different, and committing to repair. That's how healthy relationships move forward with mutual understanding. Now, if you are the one having oh no, it's a DARVO realization because you've lived it, I want you to take a breath. I want you to give yourself some grace. Many of us approach conflict assuming good faith, assuming that the other person values clarity, care, accountability the way that we do. DARVO weaponizes every conversation you try to have. The emotional confusion and the damage is very real. It's real. When DARVO shows up, every conversation is about self-protection and self-preservation, narrative control, and over time it becomes easier for you to say nothing. It becomes easier for you to get disengaged and just be quiet. And if you're not careful, your disengagement will be weaponized. So you gotta be careful. If you're having oh no, it's a DARVO moment, one thing you need to ask yourself immediately, is this a pattern or is this an isolated incident? Think back. Do you notice selective memory, constant deflection, minimizing impact, or repeated attempts to make you doubt what you saw, heard, experienced, felt? If it's a pattern, it's not just miscommunication. There's a difference between a pattern and miscommunication. And if it's a pattern, it also contributes to information about someone's character and their overall behavior. Here's a few ways to protect yourself when DARVO shows up. Again, keeping in mind that you've confirmed it's a pattern. Hold to your reality. That's number one. Your experience matters. There's your experience, and they made what they have experienced. But hold to your reality. You don't have to accept a distorted version of your experience that pushes you into self-doubt. Don't let the conversation get hijacked. Number two, DARVO tries to flip the agenda. If you raised an issue, keep returning to the original issue and the specific behaviors and impact. You got to hold tight. Don't let the spin come in. Don't let there be deflection. You can easily say, I want to come back to the original topic. I want to stay on topic. I want to talk about what I initially brought up. That keeps it in that lane, no matter how hard or how many times there's an attempt to spin. We're going to keep it on the original conversation, avoiding letting the conversation get hijacked. Number three, limit access. Protect your peace. In the workplace, you may not always be able to avoid certain coworkers, certain peers, or certain leaders completely, but you can engage with intention, clear purpose, clear boundaries, and minimal emotional exposure. Let me repeat, minimal emotional exposure. That is where the damage comes in. You can't give too much access. So be clear about your boundaries. Set some boundaries and be clear about them. Don't allow so much access that it sets you up to be emotionally abused or emotionally taken advantage of. Number four, take care of your nervous system. This is really, really important because after a DARVO interaction, you need to give yourself time to decompress. You need to either step away. You may need to, journal some thoughts, talk to a trusted person, maybe a therapist, seek professional support. The thing that is important to understand is that chronic exposure to DARVO is emotionally destabilizing, and you need and deserve support. The Workplace Mental Health Institute has an article called How DARVO Breaks Trust at Work. The article will be linked in the episode description, but it really does highlight some tips on how to address and how to recover. DARVO is a form of emotional and psychological manipulation. DARVO and psychological safety cannot coexist because safety requires truth, accountability, and repair. DARVO and psychological safety cannot coexist. They just can't. They are polar opposites. Diksha Shkula wrote an article in Horizon's Edge newsletter entitled Understanding and Addressing DARVO in the Workplace, a Guide for HR and Managers. The article cited the 2024 Gallup Workplace Survey and shares that DARVO erodes trust, decreases morale, and contributed to increased turnover. I wonder why. Research by Jennifer Freed, again, Dr. Jennifer Freed and others highlight the prevalence of DARVO tactics, particularly in cases in workplace bullying. Studies indicate that DARVO significantly undermines the credibility of people. It's the number one thing that leads to self-silencing and further perpetuation of abuse. Again, DARVO and psychological safety cannot coexist. If you want to go deeper, please check out the show notes for the links and additional readings, including work on DARVO in the workplace and psychological safety. These are things that are available that I wanted to just point out to you and share in the episode description. Before we close, as always, I want to leave you with a workplace word of wisdom. So lean in, close your eyes for a second, take a couple of deep breaths, and remember, you are allowed to name what happened. You are allowed to call it out. You are allowed to expect accountability. You are also allowed to protect your peace, especially at work. If this episode helped put language to something that you've experienced, please leave me some comments. Also share it with a friend, coworker, peer. And if you want to have more conversations, make sure that you tune in and leave me some notes. I hope you find some value in this episode. It was tough. It's a tough topic, but very important, something that's happening right now. Until next time, my friends, stay respected by being respectful.